Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. My buddies and I had been planning a guys camping trip for months. Between work, family, and other responsibilities, it was tough to coordinate schedules. But finally, the stars aligned, and we had a free weekend coming up. I offered up my family's large property in the countryside for our excursion. My grandparents had left me and my sister some land outside the city that they used to live on. There was a small cabin and plenty of space to pitch tents and enjoy nature. It was perfect for our needs. The day arrived, and we packed up our gear and snacks for the weekend getaway. There's nothing like bonding over a campfire, sleeping in tents, and breathing fresh air. No cell service, no internet, just guy time in the wilderness. Or so we thought. After setting up camp, we decided to take a hike down to the stream on the edge of the property to do some fishing. The weather was ideal, and we were having a great time until we heard shouting in the distance. As we got closer, we saw a woman who looked to be in her 40s waving her arms and yelling, "What do you hooligans think you're doing? This is my land. I paid good money for it," she screamed. We were completely confused and tried to explain to her that this land belonged to my family, but she was convinced it was hers and that we were trespassing. "I have the paperwork to prove it. This land is mine, and you boys better clear out right now if you know what's good for you," she hissed. At this point, she was getting in our faces, and I was worried she might get violent. I told my buddies to start heading back to camp while I sorted this out. "Ma'am, I can assure you that you're mistaken. My grandparents left this property to me and my sister. We have the deed, and I definitely don't remember selling it to you," I said calmly. "How dare you? Do you know who I am? I am not used to being treated this way," she yelled. That's when I realized we were dealing with a Karen. I had seen enough internet videos to recognize the attitude. As politely as I could, I asked her to show me the paperwork she claimed proved her ownership. She huffed indignantly and rifled through her purse but couldn't produce anything. "I know I brought it. Don't you go anywhere. I'll have the sheriff arrest you for trespassing," she threatened. At this point, I was losing patience. I knew this was our family's land and that she was confused or straight up lying. I told her firmly, "Ma'am, I can show you the deed with my name on it, but I would also be happy to wait here with you for the sheriff to arrive. I'm sure they can help sort out this misunderstanding." Well, that clearly wasn't the answer she expected. The smug look on her face morphed into panic once she realized I was willing to get authorities involved. No, that won't be necessary. I'll have to double-check my paperwork. Sorry for the mix-up," she backtracked rapidly. "No problem at all. I'm glad we could get this cleared up amicably," I said, just wanting her off our property as fast as possible. She gathered up her belongings and made a brisk exit without another word. My buddies had been watching the whole spectacle from a distance and got a good laugh out of it once I rejoined them. We speculated about what her deal was, but decided not to let it ruin our weekend. The rest of the day went off without a hitch. We fished, grilled hot dogs, and drank around the fire into the night. By the next morning, we had nearly forgotten about our uninvited guest. That is, until we heard commotion outside the cabin. We peeked out the window to see Karen and a police officer approaching. She was gesturing emphatically at our campsite in the cabin. None of us could believe she had actually called the cops. We didn't wait for them to knock. The four of us marched outside to confront them and defend our property once again. "Officer, I'm not sure what lies this woman has told you, but I can prove this is my family's private land," I stated calmly. "He's lying. They broke into my cabin and set up camp. I want them arrested immediately," Karen demanded shrilly. The officer held up his hand. "Ma'am, no need for hysterics. These gentlemen say they have proof of ownership, so let's have a look, shall we?" I quickly retrieved the property deed and my ID from the cabin, handing it over for inspection. The officer carefully reviewed the documents. "Well, everything appears to be in order here. The deed clearly shows this land belongs to his family," he concluded. Karen's smug grin morphed into a scowl once again upon realizing she had been proven wrong. She tried pleading with the officer, saying there must be some mistake, but he had seen the evidence with his own eyes. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but these boys have every right to be here. If you don't leave voluntarily, I'll have to escort you off the premises," he informed her. She continued grumbling under her breath, but ultimately turned on her heel and left, knowing she was defeated. We thanked the officer profusely for his help. He got a good chuckle upon realizing he had dealt with the infamous Karen. He reassured us that he could charge her with trespassing if she returned again. With that nuisance finally gone, we were able to fully enjoy the rest of the trip and not worry about any further intrusions. We still laugh thinking about how worked up she got over land that clearly wasn't hers. I almost feel bad that Karen's weekend was ruined, but then I remember how rudely she treated us. I'm just grateful I had documentation to prove she was a liar. Our man camping weekend will definitely become an annual tradition. The next one is a pro-revenge story. This all happened when I was a young man, around 21 yo. I was sharing a flat with another young bloke in a Perth suburb, US. I had not long had my first car, an old 1972 beat-up old Ford Falcon, base model, slightly rusted air-conditioned floor, etc. I'm 50 now, so quite a long time ago. I loved my old Ford. It was roomy, comfortable, and reliable. As a part of the large block of flats we lived in, each flat was given 2 parking spaces, one undercover and one open. My spot, clearly numbered with a 2 and a large white paint digit, was the open space. All was well for a few months. I was getting along really well with my flatmate, and we got along with our other neighbors. Enter entitled person. He drove a fairly new BMW, nice and flash. Whilst I was at work, he took it upon himself to allow himself to steal my spot. In Australia, the Ford Falcon was one of the largest cars on the road, and parking it was difficult. It would be classed as a mid-sized in the USA. I get home and my spot is occupied. Damn! Off I go to find someone else's spot to borrow for the night. I ask Unit 1, as I know they don't have a car, and they were quite accommodating to me. Still, I go inside and write a note for the owner of the BMW and neatly place it under his windscreen wiper, hoping that a polite request would do the trick. Nope. Next day, same thing. Now I'm getting a little irritated. I repeated the previous night's efforts, but made the note bigger and a tad ruder. I know he got the message because the bits of paper were gone. Day 3. Same again. It's the weekend. Unit 1 couldn't lend my their spot as they had visitors. Okay, fair enough. I park my big old Falcon across the front of the BMW, blocking it in. I wasn't going anywhere that weekend. Next morning, BMW was gone. Somehow it managed to slip the coupe. I steal my spot back again. That evening, the BMW did to me what I did to him, blocking me in. I see red. Upset me is not nice me. I'm patient, I bide my time. Monday morning, he's gone, and I go to work. Monday evening. Yep, you guessed it. Spot taken again. Fair dinkum, does this guy think he owns the spot? Revenge mode. New note on a sheet of A4 paper, written on his windscreen with big black texta, the kind that goes through the page. Full sheet is stuck to his windscreen with that horrible masking tape that always leaves something behind when it's peeled off. Next day, note gone and BMW still in my spot. Okay, same again with the note. Rude to the extreme, kindly explaining to the BMW why in the 7 dark levels of HL he shouldn't park in someone else's spot, maybe even referring to his dubious parentage. I then get out the big gun, my silicone gel. I used the entire tube, plastering every last square millimeter of the page, and stuck it to his windscreen, right in front of where his eyes would look through at the road. Try ignoring that. When I go to leave for work next morning, the BMW is gone, nowhere to be seen. I saw it further down the car park a couple of days later, with a brand new windscreen. Needless to say, he never parked in my spot again. In fact, neither did anyone else. Ever. The next one is a petty revenge story. My hubs and I got our first house 15 years ago. We're in a rural area, just houses randomly sprouting up along a small country highway. Next door was an old retiree with nothing better to do but be a pain in everyone's neck. House 2 miles down the road with too many junk cars, he'd complained to the county government. Did that new barn have proper permits? Report them. Was someone too loud? Call the cops. It's a rural country road, not an homeowner association. He pissed off so many people they'd throw out garbage on his yard as they drove by. People would snip his internet in the dead of night, etc. Apparently this old SOB was such a Karen, he was actually chased out of 2 homeowner associations prior. A real peach. Let's call him Bob. Didn't like us moving in next to him. He had a nice big new house, and ours was much more modest. He wanted to buy our property to expand his land, but was too cheap to fork up the money. Well, housing market being what it was, we got our house dirt cheap and stole it right out from under his nose. Bob really didn't like us. The house was a fixer-upper, and Bob regularly liked to phone the permit office to make sure we had all our permits. If he deemed us too loud, there's a hunting lease behind us. Guess what noisy things were going bang-bang during deer season? He'd call the police. My husband and Fael have dealt with his kind for years, so they knew exactly how to mess with Bob. Working outside, they'd say stuff very loudly like, "I can't wait to put up this second story on the house," and this pool will be so nice. Permit office would call us, cops would show up. No, officer, I have no idea what you're talking about. After enough of these calls, they finally stopped responding. Then we could do stuff to really mess with Bob. We got a pig. He really didn't like her, neither did I, but it was worth it. We got a rooster. He really didn't like that. We left our Christmas decorations up until March. Oh lordy, raise that man's blood pressure. We put up a fence. It was initially open across 3 lots, and made his yard look like a bowling alley. I guess he finally had enough. One day, 18-wheelers were loading everything up and he was gone. I was dancing at the fence line and waving bye-bye when they pulled out. Miserable old coot. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I was working for a well-known warehouse membership-only retail company about 6 or 7 years ago as an AM stalker. Their standard policy is to rotate managers every so many years. We got this one bitch-ass manager, Bam, who allegedly pulled the gender card to get promoted, and she really acted like the type, just to give you an idea of the type of person I'm talking about. A serious mega Karen. Among all kinds of new rules she was making up out of nowhere to presumably show dominance over us and our supervisors, was a rule, implemented immediately, that all cardboard from stocking had to go on these 2 x 1 meter long orange flatbed carts instead of in regular shopping carts. Keep in mind we started at 4 a.m. and that I was stocking the liquor section on the other side of the warehouse from the cardboard hole, and all my cardboard was small and didn't stack. This rule didn't work for me and I just wasn't having it. I started my tasks and started chucking my cardboard in a cart anyway. Bam came by to remind me to use a flatbed. I calmly and rationally explained and demonstrated why it didn't work for me. She said to do it anyway. So picked up the cart full of cardboard and placed it on the flatbed sideways and absolutely filled the bastard until it was taller than I was by wedging huge sheets of cardboard in the sides and filling the middle with the small stuff. Skip forward 2 hours when I'd left this absolute monstrosity out during lunch and I was coming back. Bam is yelling into her walkie-talkie for my supervisor, Andy, to come back and look at what I'd done. I was in the next aisle straightening something and trying not to laugh out loud. Andy comes back and he's visibly trying not to laugh while Bam screams about writing me up. He calls me over and I just calmly say, "Well, it's on the flatbed. I don't see the problem." Bam storms off and my manager didn't write me up. That was definitely one of my most satisfying days working there. The next one is an entitled parent story. I, 29M, am traveling about once or twice a month from Germany to visit my father in Spain. He spends his well-earned retirement there. I am self-employed, running 2 businesses, and since both are running very good the last months, so I'm very glad to afford flying that often to him. I always fly in business class, BC, with the known German air carrier group, given the fact that I can check in 2 pieces of luggage, since I like to bring a lot stuff back from Spain. For example, cheese, sausages, foods, fruits from my father's trees there, etc. After my 3-5 days stay. There is certain route for flights to Spain from Germany, which is very convenient for me since I am saving a lot of money, up to €250 for a return ticket in BC. Downside with this offer is that I have to take an early flight, 6:30 a.m., and there is a stopover in Zurich, Switzerland, so I have to be at 5 a.m. at the airport for dropping of my luggage. So one morning in March last year, I got up early around 4 a.m., got myself ready for the cab I ordered. The cab arrived on point and dropped me off at around 4:50 a.m. at the airport. Since the check-in counter would open around 5 a.m., I got in line, which at this morning was completely empty. I was the first in line. Around a few minutes prior to the opening of the counters, I first saw a mother, later revered as EM, with their kids struggling with the luggage machines at the economy luggage drop-off. Minding my own business, I continued looking at my phone to check some mails. Suddenly, I got cut in line by EM with her kid. Me. "Excuse me, ma'am, you have to wait until it's your turn." EM. "Don't you see that I have a child, and I don't have to wait therefore?" Me. "I'm pretty sure that having a child doesn't give you any rights to cut someone standing in line. Please wait until it is your turn." EM. "OMG, leave my alone, you perv." Apparently this dialogue didn't went without any attention by the airport staff, AS, which then came over to find out what the issue could be, and so he asked me first. "Is there a problem, sir?" Me. "Well, She cuts me off. EM. "Why are you asking him first? I am the victim here. He cut me in line." Me. "Well, that's not true. I was patiently waiting here since 4:50 a.m. for the counter to open up, when she suddenly came out of nowhere cutting me in line." "Ma'am, could I see your ticket, please?" Was starting to smile after he saw EM's ticket as she gave it to him. Ma'am, this is the wrong check-in counter for you. You are flying economy class and have to use the luggage drop-off machines over there. EM. So, I am a mother with a child. I have the right to stand here in line to drop off my luggage as well as he does. I handed him over my phone, showing him my ticket, which states, Business class per foot, FT =, frequent traveler. Ace, this gentleman has every right to stand here in line. I am not going to ask you again to leave. EM. I won't leave. Leave me alone. Then the counter opened up and EM ran faster than the speed of light to the worker at the desk, trying to check in their luggage. I just told the AS, Don't worry, it's okay. I am not in a rush. I am sure she will be sent away shortly by the counter staff. A second worker at another counter waved at me and I went to her. She was asking what all that ruckus was about and I told her what happened. She giggled and I was able to drop off my luggage without any problems. When I got asked if I want the boarding pass also printed out on paper, I gladly said yes, since you know that Murphy's Law could occur at all times in life. PE, when your phone dies on your trip. As she wanted to give my boarding pass, EM came over to me and shouted, You pay for my upgrade? Me. Excuse me? M. You heard me. I deserve it way more than you to fly in business class. Me. Are you for real? I won't pay for your upgrade. I don't know you, and apart from that, you were really rude to me earlier on, called me a perv, and cut me in line. EM. Then give me your ticket. Me. I won't do that. Have a nice day, lady. I grabbed my boarding passes and left, hoping I never saw that crazy lady again. Well, EM apparently had other plans in mind. She followed me to the security check, and then I got a call from my girlfriend. While on the phone, she kept cussing and swearing at me. You are a terrible person. How could you be so rude to me and my child? And by far the craziest thing she said was, You sure stole that money to buy that ticket? No chance in hell a young criminal like you could afford something like that. And this is the part where I got slightly angry but didn't lost my cool. Ma'am, you don't know who I am or what I do for a living. You have absolutely no right to say these things to me just because you might be jealous of me. Oh boy, I wish I haven't said that. EM got really mad and started kicking my hand luggage. After that, she tried to grab my boarding pass. After she grabbed it, she quickly tried to grab her kid and ran off to the security gates. Luckily, the airport staff security, which helped me before, was watching the whole thing again and stopped her right in front of the gates. Afterwards, the airport police has been called, and I was asked if I want to press charges against her. Seeing her little kid being really embarrassed about the whole situation, I decided that I won't do that. EM afterwards began to start an absolute meaningless discussion about how a criminal foreigner like me can fly like this, while she as a single mother has no support or anything. I have a slightly darker skin since my mother was part Asian and my father was German. I grabbed my stuff, passed through the gates, and went to the toilet. Afterwards, I wanted to eat some breakfast at the lounge. On my way to the lounge, I again encountered EM with her kid. It wonders me until this very day how someone mentally unstable like her got past the security check after acting like a spoiled teenager. Again, she saw me and this time she tried to follow me thinking I wouldn't notice her. Well, joke's on her, I went straight to the lounge and got rid of her. When I entered the lounge, I then asked at the lounge counter if my boarding gate has been announced yet. During that time, I heard EM screaming and whining through the massive glass doors of the lounge, yelling louder than I ever heard her before. That was my friend. He knows me, and I am sure he will confirm everything. Well, I couldn't be bothered with that anymore, so I sat down at an empty armchair, plugged in my headphones, and listened to some music while getting some breakfast. Suddenly, a lounge employee went through the lounge, asking other guests if they knew anything about that lady outside. That was getting way out of hand, so I went to that lady and explained what happened at the check-in counter and the security gates. EM got eventually sent away by the airport police. After enjoying my stay, I went to the gate for boarding. And again, the universe seems to have so much joy tormenting me. I saw EM at the same gate again. This time, I tried to avoid being seen by her, so I tried to walk around her and got in line for the priority boarding line. Then the announcement came for the boarding start and I got quickly onto the plane, but the bad luck strikes again. The plane has been swapped from an Airbus A321 to an Airbus A320. Meaning that every passenger has to enter the plane via one door at the front instead of two separate ones. Meaning EM would see me when she got on the plane. I decided that it would be a good time to go to the bathroom, so I asked the FA if it would be possible. She said no problem, and I went there, hoping she would pass as me once I got out. Well, joke's on me, when I got out, nobody else boarded the plane for some reason. I got back to my seat and hoped for the best. Suddenly everyone, and I mean everyone, was having the eyes wide opened as they hear the EM's loud and squeaky voice during the hallway to the plane. To make matters worse, I sat in 1A, meaning that it would be most likely for her to spot me. And for completion of all that trouble, her kid saw me first, then she did. I took a deep breath and thought, this would be the longest 45 minutes flight to Switzerland that I ever had. Immediately after she spotted me, she tried to screw me over again, starting an unexpectedly civil conversation that I would sit in her seat. EM: excuse me, sir, I believe you're sitting on my seat. Me: no, I don't. Look at my boarding pass. No. She then took it away from me and claimed to the flight attendant that I would have tried to screw her over. What a total bullshit situation. The FA then looked at the name of the boarding pass and asked the EM if she realized that there is a male name on the boarding pass. Shortly after, I reached into my wallet and showed her my ID card. Afterwards, she claimed that it would have been an error in the carrier system, since she states that she booked this seat row for her and her kid. She then just sat down next to me in the row with her child, saying she would not move since I would not have deserved to fly with better service since she has a child. Long story short, FA gave her a last warning that she should stop right now with this nonsense, or else she and her child would be kicked off the plane. Suddenly, she was calm like a sheep and left me alone. Shortly after takeoff, when breakfast was served, the FA from before came to me and apologized for the disturbance. I said to her that she has no need to worry, as it wasn't her fault, and told her crazy persons always think they're right. At the end, I got to Spain on time and was very happy that I could enjoy some time with my dad. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.